Hello and good morning everyone. My name is Andy Griffiths and it's my pleasure this morning to welcome you to this exclusive live event on behalf of Q Associates and NetApp. At Q Associates, we work with organisations across the UK and beyond to provide independent advice and specialist services in relation to their strategic IT environments. This requires us to develop strong technical and commercial relationships with many of the world's leading technology providers. And one of those organisations, and one that we work most closely with, is NetApp. We're very proud that Q Associates have been recognised with 3 major awards this year in recognition of our NetApp skills and capabilities. So I'm delighted to be joined this morning by Grant Caley, Chief Technologist at NetApp for the UK and Ireland. For the next 45 minutes or so, Grant will take us through the very latest announcements from NetApp, together with an insight into the company's rapidly broadening portfolio and future direction. The question and answer box will open shortly, so do please enter any questions that you may have during the presentation, and we'll do our best to answer them during the time available for Q&A at the end. So thank you all for joining us this morning, and over to you, Grant.
Yeah, no, thank you, Andy, and it's a great pleasure actually to be presenting, with Q, because as a valued partner of ours, the solutions that you've been able to deliver to customers have been absolutely excellent, and those awards were well received, so congratulations for those.
Thank you.
You're welcome. So I'm going to talk a little bit, I suppose, in perspective. We've had a big announcement actually, June the 8th, yesterday was a big announcement day for us, so I'm going to cover off some of those. I'm going to talk about how NetApp sits from a portfolio perspective across not just the on-premises data centers, but how we can help customers adopt and utilize the cloud more efficiently and with more speed. So I'll talk both sides of the equation, really, how we deliver enterprise IT and how we help you modernize the data center, and how we can help you with that cloud journey and leveraging the cloud for your business. So yesterday we had a big announcement. We talked really around about, the overarching theme of the announcement was around about hybrid cloud and helping customers build that hybrid cloud. And we made announcements around about, first of all, foundational on-premise infrastructure components. So I'll talk about our FlexPods, the new version of ONTAP, Storage Grid, the new version of that, which is mentioned. I'll talk about how we've really enhanced the manageability, and that sits across not just the data center, but into the public clouds as well. So Astra on premises, for example, cloud backup, and a few of the cloud capabilities that you can see there. We also had, which I'm not going to go into as part of this presentation, announcements around about how we can help with our partners enable financial flexibility. So really change the purchase model on premise to be more consumption-like, if that's what you are looking for, to kind of match the consumption models that we see in the cloud. And we made announcements around about being able to offer our FlexPod solution as a service, so that you can pay for that consumption basis. But also we partner with Equinix for co-location facilities next to the cloud, and through NetApp. You can also purchase that on a subscription basis, as well as the NetApp deployment in the Equinix co-location. And the great thing about Equinix is they're high-speed connected into all of the public clouds. So if you want to be next to the cloud but not in the cloud, that enables that. And the other was AI as a service through those partners that deliver that. And that's really about delivering a pre-configured solution built on NVIDIA's capabilities, with NetApp technology providing the storage acceleration, all offered as a package which you can consume as well. So those were announcements made on the financial side, but as I say, I won't go into any more detail on those. And then also around about consultancy and expertise offered through our partners. We've extended the range of really kind of building more cloud-focused capabilities to help customers and partners deliver services across the hybrid cloud. So I'll go into some of those things, as well as talking a bit more generally around about NetApp's strategy, because it's changing almost on a weekly basis, and that's often the challenge which our customers have, and NetApp's job to make sure that we keep you up to date on that. So I think from a strategy perspective, NetApp is really focused, and has been for 30 years, on delivering on-premise data management and storage solutions. We have the latest leading flash platforms recognized by Gartner at the top right of the primary storage metric quadrant. We have hybrid storage capabilities. We have the ability to deliver those at any scale, from very small locations, regional offices, all the way up to multi-petabyte installations. But also we deliver object technologies, object storage on premise, so that you can build your S3 services in your data center to be like the cloud, but without maybe the constraints or the compliance issues that you may have with putting data into the cloud. And those solutions we can combine together with Cisco, UCS and Nexus to deliver private cloud infrastructure, what we call FlexPod. And that's deployed globally by over 3,000 customers. But across that layer of infrastructure in the data center, we layer on additional capabilities around about zero data loss, replication, DR, business continuity, all of those key features, and often integrated with our partners such as Veeam and Rubrik, for example. And all of that is about being able to deliver in your data center an enterprise solution that delivers enterprise capabilities, whether you're building a virtualization platform, bare metal applications, deploying Kubernetes, for example, or mission critical applications, or even building the next generation of AI platform and needing to deliver data management and data acceleration for that. So that's our on-premise capability. And I'm sure some of you on the call are familiar with that. The step, though, that we see a lot of customers taking now is how do they then start to think about the journey to cloud? How do we start to think about either adopting the cloud? You may not have adopted the cloud yet. You might just be using some SaaS applications like Office 365. And often that first part of the journey is getting your head around what's an easy win to adopt the cloud. What can we do straight away without having to be cloud knowledgeable cloud developers, and building applications natively. And a lot of those actually start off with things like, well, let's look at doing backup to the cloud, for example. And that's an easy solution which we can help customers with, offloading backups in that respect. Or maybe it's actually tiering cold data off of flash storage or storage in your data center and tiering that into the public cloud onto S3. And all of these are very easy ways of adapting and using the public cloud for what it can provide. But then the next step is really thinking about, well, maybe actually we can look at data center consolidation, we can look at developing disaster recovery to the cloud, or maybe we need help with migrating services from on-premise to the cloud. And starting that cloud journey is where NetApp is putting a lot of focus on really making it simple to tick those things off, if that's the starting point of your kind of cloud strategy, I suppose. But then for a lot of customers, don't get me wrong, most customers still sit with a hybrid environment, and I foresee that being that way for the future, to be honest. And if you do that, how do you accelerate access from the data center or regional office into the public cloud? And then NetApp provide capabilities there to help you as well. So our strategy is not just delivering in the data center, data management storage solutions, but helping you look at these parts of the journey and accelerating that use of the public cloud. But then when you get to the public cloud, NetApp offer a range of services which are really about extending the data management that we're known for on-premise and layering that across AWS, Azure, and Google and other clouds as well. And that really falls into different buckets of capability. The first is around about being able to offer enterprise cloud storage with all the feature set that NetApp is known for on-premise, but delivering that in AWS, Azure, and Google across using Cloud Disk or offering that as a native service, a managed service in those public clouds. And that really is about delivering performance, rich data management, security, compliance of your data, backup, recovery, etc., everything that wraps around that. And that's our various iterations of Cloud Volume Service. But when you use the cloud, a good chunk of what you're doing in the cloud, apart from the data management, is actually the compute that you're leveraging to build the solutions which you wish to run your applications on. NetApp have services to enable you to optimize those cloud compute capabilities, those instances that you're buying from the hyperscalers, and to make sure that you can deliver the maximum potential for the least cost, often taking out up to 70 or 80% of your compute bill from the hyperscaler. And when you wrap that with storage efficiency and compute efficiency, you can often reduce the cost of that cloud journey by 50 to 70 or 80%. And that is a huge advantage in terms of giving you more cloud for less cost. But then also we leverage a range of services in the cloud to really enhance the environment. First around about visibility of cloud resources in all three clouds, but also your on-premise infrastructure as a service resources and bringing those together with a single pane of glass. That's our Cloud Insight product, so that you can look at it from an operational perspective or a financial dashboarding or a management capability, and API integrate that information to things like your CMDB or other systems of record that you have. And then also leveraging and tracking what data you're putting into the cloud and being able to bring rigid compliance to that. And I'll talk about that later. But then we also have a range of other cloud services around about helping you manage Kubernetes, helping you deliver Office 365 backup, for example, and various other bits and pieces. But when you combine those together, what NetApp are really bringing to the fore from an overall strategy perspective is, firstly, at the bottom there, giving you on-premise and cloud foundations, so those storage layers, if you like, that you can build solutions on top of. And you can see the product names there, and we'll go into those in a little bit more detail. On top of that layer, though, it is about bringing all of that data management, that rich enterprise capability, which you've got in your data centers probably today in some form, but leveraging that across the public clouds so that you can have a consistent, standardized way of delivering data management. And then if you need financial flexibility, either in how you pay for those solutions, particularly on premise, as you do in the cloud with consumption, or even optimizing those financial options through compute optimization, etc., then we can layer that. But then it is about not just bringing our expertise, but bringing Q's expertise to really bring these together and help you build what we loosely call a data fabric. That's your architecture, effectively, that spans the hybrid cloud and enables you to deliver for databases, applications, high performance transactions, AI, whatever you're looking to do across the hybrid cloud. That's where NetApp and Q together can bring you the capabilities for you to deliver that. So when we look at, little build there, happened before my icons did, so I'll build that up. In the data center, we're really focused on delivering our ONTAP solutions for SAN and NAS storage, flash-based, hybrid, even the latest QLC disks, for example, on the flash solutions. Delivering FlexPod architecture, that Cisco UCS Nexus and NetApp storage as a pre-engineered solution that you can deploy very quickly. And then, as I mentioned already, object technology, but also backed by our E-Series storage platform, which provides the back-end storage for our object storage grid, but also can be used for other third platform applications. And then the interesting thing about NetApp is that all of that data management value we also enable in software-defined solutions. So you can deploy an ONTAP Select VM with all of the rich storage management from NetApp to have the same look and feel as a physical solution, but deployed on top of virtualization platforms. So where you want to push that to maybe regional offices or to smaller locations, we can still extend that data management platform. And some quick examples there, one of the largest banks in the UK, well, actually globally, deploy NetApp all-flash arrays for their complete virtualized estate, so running all the VMs on top of that. The Diamond Light Institute, who are a research organization in the UK, they do photon research and all that kind of leading edge stuff. Their whole model is built on performance, because obviously they're dealing with light. How can we deliver performance for data management? And our EF series, the flash version of the E series, helps them deliver that extreme flash performance, about 2 million IOPS per second in a 4U box. And then Icon, who are an Irish medical company who do a lot of research and analysis, etc. They use our storage grid to help them manage the vast scale of data which they're producing and need to provide collaborative access to. So we have a range of capabilities there. ONTAP itself, if you know the product, you'll know what I'm talking about, but if you don't, it is available in many iterations, and this is the unique thing that NetApp offers. It's available not just as an all-flash platform, which you can scale up to 24 nodes. It's available as a hybrid platform, so hybrid disk, spinning disk, flash disk, which also you can scale up to 24 nodes. And those platforms can actually be mixed in the same cluster, so you can have different nodes of different types. You've got high-performance NVMe, you've maybe got SSDs, you've got SATA disks, all within the same cluster, enabling you to really build a true scale-out architecture that delivers all the rich data management. But as I mentioned, ONTAP is effectively a software-defined storage solution, and ONTAP Select enables you to build those same scalable clusters, certainly up to 8 nodes, across VMware or commodity hardware. And that capability means that you have the consumption options as to how you want to deploy your data management. You can choose the infrastructure it sits on. NetApp can bring the ONTAP value on top of that. But I think the really exciting thing is that NetApp bring that ONTAP value not just into the physical platforms and the software defined, but into all of the public clouds as well. Bring that ONTAP capability. And with that ONTAP value across all of those environments, You can standardize management, automation, enterprise delivery of service levels, all of those things which you have to deliver in your business. It really enables you to have that consistent foundation, if you like, that you can then build services and capabilities on top of. So the ONTAP hardware platform, the AFFs and the FAS, so the all-flash FAS and the fabric attached storage, which is the kind of hybrid platforms, they really have been extending. Now, they all run the same operating system. They all have 99% of the same feature set. There's obviously variations depending on whether you're on the flash platform or the hybrid platform. But the range itself goes all the way from the C190 at the low end, so a 2U box, which you can deliver flash capabilities very cost effectively, all the way out to the multi-petabyte high performance AFF A800. And the thing about those AFF platforms is that they leverage both SSDs or NVMe drives, so you have that choice, but also they leverage not just fiber channel protocols, NAS protocols if you want, and you can choose to have a unified platform or just SAN or just NAS, for example, but they also enable NVMe end-to-end across both fiber channel and TCP protocols. So if you want to really adopt the next generation of SAN, you can connect into those boxes using very low latency connectivity. And NVMe end-to-end as a protocol, which sits on top of fiber channel or TCP, is really the next generation of SAN protocol. That's where we're going to start seeing that market go. But those platforms are the flash ones, the AFFs, but we also deliver a hybrid set of platforms, and those can utilize both SSDs and SATA drives to deliver a solution which can be for very dense storage solutions and a mixture of dense and high performance as well. And those deliver all the way from the FAS 2720 at the low end of the range, all the way up to the FAS 9000 for multi-petabyte storage. And the interesting one that was launched recently was the FAS 500F. And it's actually an all-flash platform, but it's based on QLC flash. So very cost-dense flash, delivering not quite the performance of the AFFs, but delivering better performance than spinning disk, for example. And the FAS 500 is really sitting there as that QLC box to deliver those capabilities. But again, the one thing that drives a consistency across these, and very much unlike other vendors, is that it is one operating system across this full range of products, and you can cluster these all together. So that really brings a simplicity in terms of deploying on-premise data management. As I mentioned there, the FAS 500F QLC flash media, 24 drives. Those drives are 15 terabyte SSDs, massive QLC drives, but they deliver a massive capacity capability in terms of delivering flash performance, but at a much better price point and capacity point that you might have. And as I mentioned, the 250, which was brought in at the low end of the range, is really about delivering a low-end NVMe and SSD solution, of which you can go for a small amount of NVMe drives, high performance, deliver that, or mix it with external disk shelves and put SSDs in there as well. So really kind of bringing two new platforms to bring the latest processor architectures and high performance solutions to what you might be deploying. But again, all running the ONTAP operating system. NetApp has a slight differentiation in, if you know NetApp, the FAS product originally was our SAN and NAS in a box. You could do both from the same box. We differentiated that with the all-flash FAS about 2 years ago to offer what we call an all-SAN version of the AFF. So this is a version of the all-flash FAS. It doesn't run the NAS protocols, it just runs SAN. And the reason for that is it gives you much better failover, faster failover capabilities. So in 10 millisecond type of failovers. And that's really targeted at all SAN solutions where you want to have enterprise array capabilities with the failover. It's got the full feature set of the other products in the range, but it has that faster SAN failover. It has the ability to do more streamlining around about SAN protocol provision, and that can be delivered. And the great thing about it is that if you have all flash FASs today, you can actually convert those into all SAN versions anyway, to gain some of the additional benefits around about faster failover capabilities for the clustering, for the high availability technology. So that's a really great feature. And the new release, which was announced last week, was the fact that you can now scale those SAN nodes out to 12 nodes in an all SAN cluster. So really delivering a lot of performance and capacity as well. And that also requires 9.9.1, although we are calling that just 9.9. There wasn't really a 9.9, it is 9.9.1, but there you go. So ONTAP 9.9.1, but marketing decided not to put the .1 on, too confusing for people. It brings a few key differentiators, I suppose, over the previous versions of ONTAP. Now, ONTAP, as it stands, is an extreme kind of feature set that it offers on top. It brings all your standard storage efficiency technologies. It brings instant cloning, snapshots, restores, synchronous mirroring, asynchronous mirroring. It brings metro cluster technologies over IP fiber channel. It brings a whole range of capabilities. 9.9 extends on top of that by firstly making the product much more simple to use. So out of the box, you can be up and running for the workloads, for example, on the right within 10 minutes. You choose the workload you want to deploy, it optimizes the storage for that, and you have a storage volume that you can then connect doing that. So very much aimed at driving simplicity into the solution. They've added additional capabilities around about security to do better granular access control and remote access for management, etc., really to bring better security into the product. We're already at the leading edge of any vendor for security capabilities. You know, we're FIPS compliant, FIPS 140-2. We've got all the US Department of Defense, certifications, etc. So a very secure platform. One thing that was added though was the ability to do bigger and better metro cluster configurations, so that you can have zero data loss across all of your configurations across IP. We've added more features around about SVMDR, so storage volume disaster recovery, so you can do much more granular failover and management, and really expanding that capability of data protection into our large scale out NAS volume capability, which is called Flex Groups, which enables you to build multi-petabyte single directory volumes. A lot of the data management is now fully configured and working across that as well. One of the big things that we improved on this though was the performance improvements to the arrays. So although the storage arrays have always been exceedingly performant for multi-workloads, we've also made improvements recently so that you can deliver per LUN a 400% improvement in performance just for single applications. And that really helps you drive not just consolidation of applications, but an extreme capability for single applications. And that 400% performance improvement is massive. That's on the same hardware. So if you're on 9.8 and you upgrade to 9.9, you get those performance improvements without having to change the hardware. So we're continually doing, optimizations within the operating system to really bring massive performance improvements to the platform without you having to buy more hardware, which is always great at the end of the day. But big feature, and there's a link there to the Simplicity 365 site on the NetApp web page, is around about how you can get this whole solution up and running in less than 5 minutes. Arguably in the past, there was a lot more configuration elements to be done. That's all been removed. So now it's all about deploying the solution 5 minutes and you're up and running with whatever workload you want. So really delivering that through a GUI to make it much more simpler to deploy the systems that you might want to leverage. Our FlexPod solution, which as I mentioned it's a reference architecture, a blueprint, fully QA'd by Cisco, NetApp, VMware, Microsoft, whichever of the applications you can see in the little box there is being deployed, for example. What it is it's that pre-engineered architecture of confirming the hardware, the versions, the operating system, everything end to end, so that you don't have to do it. It's bought through partners, so the partner provides the solution, with the vendors, ourselves and the ones I mentioned, providing the back-end support. It's one phone number to call if you have an issue anywhere in that stack, so that you don't have to go chasing around the different horizontal tiers of vendor to work out who's got the problem. You just need one of them, and they treat that as a single support solution. But the solution itself, as I mentioned at the beginning, is now available as a consumption solution. So you can pay for it on a consumption basis, as you would in a cloud, for example, and that makes it much more flexible for deploying solutions where you don't maybe necessarily know the growth beyond a year, for example, and you want that flexibility option to be able to go up, but also down in terms of your commitment. And the solution has really added many more what we call Cisco validated designs, CVDs. We've added things like SAP HANA, which we certified with SAP as well. We've added things like SQL Server the latest iteration of that, latest versions of Oracle. All of those CVDs are available there so that you don't have to do the work around about, configuring and managing the engineering effort, I suppose, behind deploying that whole solution. So we're really excited about that. And there's over 3,000 customers using FlexPods today. It's probably the most widely deployed converged infrastructure stack, and it's fully integrated with tools like Cisco Intersight, etc., for managing that kind of operational platform. So NetApp's storage grid solution, if you don't know object technology, file technology, you store a file in a directory, you have to know where it is to retrieve it. Objects, you store a file on an object repository and you're just given a reference ID. And then that reference ID can be used across HTTP to retrieve that object. Wherever the object happens to be, you don't have to know that. The system manages that itself. And the whole point of object technology is to deliver storage, file storage at scale. So billions or millions of objects on whatever you're trying to do. And actually, it's not just delivering it at scale, but being able to deliver it with metadata attached to each object. So as I store a document, for example, I can say, this document is confidential, it must be deleted in 5 years' time, it has to be encrypted, it must be held in full locations. The object repository storage grid takes care of that dynamically. You just assign the metadata and then you use the policies that you built around that metadata to automatically manage that data for you. So it really is the next generation of unstructured data at scale. The use cases for things like storage grid are as backup repositories. We're seeing a lot more of that from Veeam and Commvault and other vendors. As an archive repository because of the metadata and the ability to manage data at scale. It also can be that the tiering platform for cold tiering from NetApp's ONTAP platform. So if you have an ONTAP array, it can cold tier any cold data into an object repository storage grid and offload that capacity from your primary storage. So you can really extend the estate there. SolidFire, our SolidFire solution, can use it as an S3 backup target, as can ONTAP actually with the cloud backup service. But we're also starting to see people building new applications on object technology, looking at it as a compliance platform. It's very well used within the media industry for storing rich media, video, audio, whatever size of object you want to put in there, from multi-gigabyte size objects down to very small objects. And the great thing about the NetApp solution is it's a software-defined object repository. You can buy it as an appliance and it's built on our E-Series platform, or you can deploy it on top of a hypervisor, or you can leverage whatever storage you've got sitting around in your estate, NetApp, whatever third party. It could even consume tape drives as a tier of storage within that object namespace. And then actually the interesting thing about it is it also integrates S3 services in the public clouds as well, and can use those to tier data. So you can have a policy that says this data is stored on the storage grid on premise for a year, and then after that it's tiered out to Glacier storage, for example, or some form of S3 that's much, much colder. So that capability is really important, that you can build this kind of multifaceted global namespace solution. But we did just launch 11.5 of this solution. So storage grid has been around for 10 years. And we've been iterating and bringing new features in all the time. 11.5 brings all sorts of security capabilities. So for example, the ability to secure and encrypt the data using an external key manager rather than the one that's provided through storage grid. And also it brings something called object locking. And object locking is an S3 protocol capability that AWS Amazon released. And what it means is you can actually lock an object and you can therefore prove that that object hasn't been tampered with, and that enables you to do things like compliance storage, ransomware storage, backups, immutable backups, and that type of scenario. We've also added things like simplification, there's automatic rebalancing of performance, there's hardware acceleration features with the ability to bring in new nodes and age out old nodes, etc. And there's also improvements around about how the namespace itself delivers routing of storage and load balances the front end nodes as well, really about enabling you to bring massive data growth to that. So a really capable platform. If you're looking at object storage, absolutely have a look at this. We're winning, hand over fist in terms of replacing a lot of the aging legacy object solutions a lot of our customers have previously deployed. So storage grid as an object platform can leverage NetApp hardware, and one of the platforms that we sell it as an appliance combined with, so it's running on the platform itself, is the NetApp E series and EF series. And the E series and EF series are really fast, simple, reliable block storage. They do NVMe, Fibre Channel, iSCSI, SAS, and InfiniBand as protocols. Not all the range do those protocols, so just double check which ones do if you need InfiniBand in particular. But what they open up is the possibility of having a ubiquitous SAN block device that delivers performance, capacity, and at a good price point. And it's available in really 3 iterations. The first is actually delivering the high-end, extreme low latency performance using NVMe drives, but also NVMe end-to-end connectivity for those platforms as well. And NVMe end-to-end, so for example, Fibre Channel is the wire, if you like, that you use for NVMe. So I connect my server using Fibre Channel to the EF, for example. In normal scenarios, as a SAN configuration, Fibre Channel, I might get near 2 million IOPS, but the latency is maybe sitting at 250 microseconds, for example, which is still extreme low latency. You add NVMe end-to-end, and it drops that latency down to 80 microseconds. So it really is high performance, low latency, delivering extreme capabilities in just a 2U form factor, really capable. The NVMe is at the top end of the range, but you can also use that same platform but with SSDs. And the difference there is about probably about 20% difference on the latency for the drive type that you're getting, but still extreme performance. So really a set of options there on what size and what performance you want to deliver, and deliverable for things like extreme database performance, extreme applications, but also for things like Splunk and BGFS, AI, InfiniBand connected solutions, and all sorts of options there. That same platform is also available as a hybrid disk platform. We do 60U drive shelves. We can store an incredible density of data per unit, delivering the most cost-effective secondary storage capability for things like backup, for things like archives, and that type of use case. The interesting thing about this platform is there's over 1 million nodes of E-series deployed globally. It was OEM'd by IBM as their mid-range. It's been OEM'd by Dell. It's been OEM'd by SGI, by Cray. It's the back end of things like Teradata storage solution, data warehouse solutions. It's just so ubiquitous, but the reason that it's so popular is because it just delivers performance, reliability, SAN capability. It doesn't have all the bells and whistles that the ONTAP range has, but where it fits admirably. So the interesting thing about NetApp is we don't just deliver these solutions in the data center, we also deliver these solutions at the edge of your network as well. So at the edge, for example, we can deliver the low-end C190s or AFF 250 boxes if you want flash 2U at the edge of your network to deliver capabilities, whether SAN or NAS. As I mentioned already, we can deliver ONTAP as a software-defined solution and deploy on top of VMware, for example. Or we can even deploy it on top of things like AWS Outposts or some other form of virtualization platform. But we've been recently rolling out ONTAP to very small form factor devices, looking at pushing it into retail stores, into edge locations where your configuration from a hardware perspective might be just effectively, a Jetson Nano, for example, from NVIDIA in a very small Raspberry Pi size box. NetApp can extend that ONTAP platform into those solutions as well. But what makes NetApp different, I think, is the fact that we can also deliver all of this value across not just the data center and the edge, but into the public cloud as well, and across all of the public clouds. So Azure, Google, and AWS. Actually, we do it in IBM Cloud as well, Alibaba, but obviously the major ones are these ones. And that ubiquity, I suppose, of data management means that you can deploy ONTAP, for example, in all of those locations. And that capability enables you to standardize data management, operations, automation that you're deploying, and build, it helps you really increase the time to deliver solutions, particularly in the cloud, but also to reduce the risk because you can deliver the same data management capabilities that you do in the data center across AWS, Azure, and Google, even though as an underlying technology perspective, they're offering different technology choices. We're building on top of those and offering you a standardization of a service across the top. And that standardization is built on ONTAP. These are just some of the features that ONTAP offers, whether it be storage efficiency, instant backups, clones, restores, synchronous replication, asynchronous, secure multi-tenancy. All of those capabilities we deliver not just in the data center, but across the edge, the software-defined solutions, and across all of the public clouds. And that really is unique in the marketplace in terms of what NetApp are offering compared to our competitors. Most other competitors pick a feature and offer that in one hyperscaler, or and not in the others, etc. They don't offer the same kind of diversity of environments that NetApp does. ONTAP itself, though, in the cloud is offered in two different flavors. It's offered firstly as a virtual storage controller that you can launch through the marketplace. You can bring your own license through Q, which is the best way, I think, to do it because it's the most cost effective. Or you can go through the marketplace and just pay for it as you go. But really what it does is it brings all those features at the bottom to the cloud. But importantly, and I think the most important one, is it brings storage efficiency into the cloud. So for every terabyte that you consume of AWS disk, for example, NetApp can apply our storage efficiencies to that and enable you to get 2 terabytes out of that disk, or maybe 3 terabytes, depending on the workload and the efficiencies that can be driven. And that's really important because it drives down the cost of storing data in the cloud and enables you to provide all that data management wrapped around it. And that data management, because it's the same tools you use to manage the cloud versions and the on-premise versions of NetApp, and it's the same replication engine and everything else, you can actually build a hybrid IT environment that encompasses what you're doing in the data center, but allows you to extend that data center into the public cloud as well. Where you don't want to manage the storage in the cloud, NetApp also offer ONTAP as a managed service delivered natively in Google and Azure. So they sell those services to you through their marketplaces, but it's built on top of NetApp. And in AWS, NetApp provides that service through the marketplace. That's aimed at giving you just data storage in the cloud where you just choose the capacity, the performance, and the data protection policy, and that's it. And then you just pay on a consumption basis. So different types of model. Cloud Volumes ONTAP is probably the one which we see the most kind of operational use, I suppose, for customers, because it gives more benefits in terms of the feature set, but also that storage efficiency, which the customer can realize to help you reduce the overall cloud cost. A lot of use cases exist, for Cloud Volumes ONTAP. Actually, the use case list is endless. There isn't really a bad use case. The only bad use case would be a bad cloud use case, for example. But even those bad cloud use cases, we help make more accessible. So we see absolutely Cloud Volumes or Cloud Volumes ONTAP being used as a backup or a DR target in the cloud because it can bring storage efficiencies, instant failover, zero space cloning of replication sets, all that kind of great stuff. A lot of customers are using it for enterprise file services in the cloud. So they're moving not to OneDrive because that's a collaboration file service. They want application file services. NetApp bring that complete NAS value proposition into the public cloud, and the Department of Justice took full advantage of that in the US. But actually, a lot of customers are building mission-critical enterprise apps on top of Cloud Volumes. Zero data loss, high availability, control of failover between AZs, replication, encryption, all the stuff that we do on premise in the public clouds. And Clavis Insights, who are a retail analytics company, leverage that in their case to reduce the cost of deploying in the public cloud. And then a leading business analytics company, they actually built their whole SaaS offering in AWS, but on top of NetApp because of the availability features. And they also use it for the DevOps capability. So the ability to do cloning of data sets, restores, roll forwards, all of that stuff that you want to build into a DevOps pipeline, NetApp enables through the ONTAP platform. How do you manage all that though? Because now we're talking about managing not just on-premise, but cloud environments, and NetApp's Cloud Manager, which is, there's no charge for that tool. It enables you to manage not just the on-premise environments that you're connecting to and connect those to the cloud environments, but then also deliver, firstly, the provisioning of storage through Cloud Volumes, automate that, just a few questions, literally 5 minutes, and you can deliver that. But also extending those solutions, both the on-premise NetApp ONTAP deployments and the cloud ones. For example, turning on cloud backup to back up to the cloud, turning on data compliance with DataSense, turning on insights and management with Insight. All of these capabilities, the tiering and Astra, etc., are all accessible through Cloud Manager as that kind of hybrid cloud single point of management, if you like. So that's a really great tool, which you can go and have a look at cloud.netapp.com and see the capabilities and really how easy it is to deploy and manage using that tool. An interesting company who we're all well aware of recently, I'm glad to say I had my AstraZeneca injection, is they built the whole collaborative research environment in not just their data center, but they also extended that to AWS, Azure, and Google as well. And in order to provide a consistency and an acceleration of data management and access for research and collaboration, they used NetApp underpinning all of those environments to build that effectively, that data fabric, to give them one single way of managing not just the delivery of data and the efficiency, but also being able to ensure that it was compliant and secure as they rolled out their research and enabled access into that. They're a really great example. There's a good Computer Weekly article. If you just Google AstraZeneca NetApp, you'll find it, where their IT director talks about how we really help them accelerate the time to completion of the vaccine. One thing that we do, though, apart from, and you can see on the right there, are on-premises solutions. I've talked about the cloud storage that we can deliver across Google, Azure, and AWS, about delivering high-performance, cost-efficient multi-cloud storage, is we also bring a range of services around that. So, for example, at the top, we have the ability to optimize your cloud compute utilization using our Spot service. It takes anywhere up to 70 or 80% out of your compute cost. That's a great one. If you're spending a lot on compute in the cloud, have a look at the features that can bring. We have the ability, as already mentioned, of accelerating access using our global file cache for remote offices, for example. So being able to deliver high performance Windows access to remote data sets with low latency, but also distributed locking. All of our products, the ONTAP on-premise and the cloud versions, can back up to the cloud or to on-premise using our cloud backup capability. I'll talk about that in a sec. If you want to migrate data, we have a range of replication synchronization tools, either built into the platform like SnapMirror or available as an external one, so you can synchronize other vendor products to cloud, etc. It's our Cloud Sync products. Great capabilities to do that. I'll talk about our containerization strategy, how we can integrate data management into the container, and also how we give insights and data compliance. And if you're looking at backing up Office 365, we have a plugin that enables you to do full email, OneDrive, SharePoint, Groups, Teams, etc., back up to the cloud. But all of these platforms can be automated. They all have an API interface, which enables you to build automation using whatever tool you want to, whether that's Ansible, Puppet, Chef, Terraform, etc. And in a lot of cases, in fact, most of those cases, we have full playbooks and runbooks to enable you to do that without having to reinvent the wheel. And if you're looking for virtual desktop services, NetApp have the ability to help you orchestrate and manage on-premise desktops and also cloud virtual desktops, whether it be WVD, for example. We take care of all of the delivery, the orchestration, optimization, security, and also wrapping the persistent data services and Office 365 backup as well into that package, if you like. So desktop as a service, if you're looking for that. The cloud backup capability, for those that use ONTAP, enables you effectively with just one click through Cloud Manager to back up an on-premise or a cloud version of ONTAP to an S3 repository. It leverages our SnapMirror technology, which gives you compression, deduplication before the data is moved, plus encryption. And then it enables you to easily back up to the cloud with literally just one click. You then have catalog management for file management and very simple to use. So if you're looking for a backup solution without all of the complexities that might exist otherwise, you can just turn that on, choose your S3 bucket, whether it's an on-premise storage grid or a cloud S3 bucket, and just press click, and it will start backing up in the most efficient way possible. So a great iteration of the solution in terms of where that's going. We also work closely with backup partners, though, because we don't deliver the whole backup solution, particularly obviously for non-NetApp environments. We work closely with Rubrik for them to leverage their secondary storage for NetApp to be able to back up, and obviously they use our latest version of our version 3 SnapDiff protocol to enable high performance analysis of what's changed and just to send those changes. That's a very capable solution if you're looking at that type of offering. And obviously we integrate with Veeam as well. And actually with Veeam, we integrated our S3 storage grid as a repository, but also added that immutable object locking, which was a feature of 11.5. So now you can do immutable backups and trigger that capability. So those two backup partners are really key in terms of the solutions that we can bring together from an ecosystem perspective. Don't get me wrong, we have others as well. Commvault we work very closely with, but also work across the other backup vendors as targets or as source systems for those as well. One interesting area that we've developed into is around about Kubernetes, and for some of you, Kubernetes might just be tomorrow's architecture. And don't get me wrong, most customers are in that bucket, but for some, they're actually actively building applications in Kubernetes. And the challenge of Kubernetes is that traditionally it's stateless. So you deploy a container, it does its stuff and it dies. It doesn't hold any data, it just acts as a job engine, if you like. The challenge is how you build more mission critical applications using Kubernetes, because you need a persistent data layer. Those applications become stateful, they can't lose their data when the container dies as you launch maybe a new container or you scale those containers out. So that persistent data capability is really important. And then of course with that, you have to then look at how do you provide backup of containers, disaster recovery, maybe portability, because people build Kubernetes in their data center, OpenShift, for example, but then they deploy Kubernetes in Azure and in Google and in AWS. How do you manage those multiple Kubernetes environments, deliver a stateful application across those, and all the data management, the backup, the disaster recovery, etc. Well, NetApp's Astra Control, as it's now been called, enables you to do that. What it does is it overviews your Kubernetes deployments in your data center, so as an on-premise capability, and in all of the public clouds. And it enables you to roll out persistent data so that you can build these mission critical apps to any of those on-premise or cloud environments. It manages that for you. It understands the application you're building, and then it integrates backup and DR to that application as well. But then also it brings the ability to migrate whole applications from, say, an on-premise Kubernetes and drag and drop it into Google's Kubernetes. Astra takes care of all of that for you. So it's a really great technology that went GA a few months ago. Have a look at that if you're interested in Kubernetes and how you provide persistent data management and protection for those environments. Cloud Insights, if you've not used this, by the way, you should be, and I'll explain why in a second. But Cloud Insights is our heterogeneous tool that allows you to manage and monitor any infrastructure as a service. So you might be on-premise NetApp, EMC, HP Pure, VMware, Hyper-V, Kubernetes, for example, across fabrics and networks. And in the cloud, you might be using infrastructure as a service from Google, AWS, and Azure. Cloud Insights can manage all of those environments. It normalizes the view so you can compare apples to apples. And it then gives you first an operational dashboard for monitoring, alerting, risk analysis, capacity trending, forecasting, performance issues, all that kind of stuff. But then it also gives you a financial view as well. So you can see the comparative costs of workloads on premise versus AWS, Azure, and Google. You can make decisions about migrations as to which ones work and which ones wouldn't. And then thirdly, it also brings a full range of management dashboard and reporting that enables you to create application-centric views of your environment. So for an application owner, he can see his or her performance, capacity, how much the application is costing, its growth, its trends, its risks, all centralized around that per application view. So it's a great product for kind of standardizing single pane of glass, operational and financial and management kind of reporting and that across there. The reason you should use it is, firstly, it works across well over 100 different vendors, so you can plug in all your technologies that you have. But thirdly, across your NetApp estate, it's free to use. So you just go to cloud.netapp.com, click on Cloud Insights. It's a SaaS service. You drop a VMware collector in your data center. There's no agents to install. It's just credential based, and it will pull all that information together and give you things like performance capacity, VM metrics, cloud metrics, all that kind of stuff for the NetApp components that you're using across those environments. But then it's very easy at the click of a button, consumption per month, to just add on other vendors. You can then change to the standard or the premium versions and add on all the additional capabilities. So if you are a NetApp customer today in the cloud or in the data center, just go and have a look at Cloud Insights, because it integrates things like ActiveIQ and our other management tools and brings a lot of that capability together to really help you manage and optimize your estate that much more succinctly. Cloud Compliance, which as I mentioned earlier has been renamed to datacentre, is our capability. It's a SaaS service. It plugs into your unstructured data, so your NAS data, your databases, NoSQL and SQL, and it plugs into your S3 object repositories on-premise and cloud. And then it enables you to manage the data from a compliance perspective. So it will look into the content of the data, it will use AI to analyze it, and it will enable you to track policies that you're interested in. So maybe you don't want to break GDPR or CCPA if you're in the US, or maybe you want to track PCI or HIPAA or some other regulation, or even just your own policies that you have from an organizational perspective about personal information, for example. It tracks all of the data that you're storing in these different repositories, on-premise, structured and cloud, and will flag up when you break the policies that you've defined that you want to track. And it also helps you create GDPR reports. If somebody says, I need to know everything about John Doe, you can type John Doe, and it will generate a complete data compliance report about all the information and the systems that you hold on that person. So a really capable tool that's a consumption-based, easy to launch, easy to run. And actually the first 10 terabytes are free to use anyway, so you can easily go out there and trial the product as well. Again, go to cloud.netap.com to do that. So I think the key thing about this is really that NetApp is not just about providing NAS and SAN solutions on premise, which I know a lot of you probably know us for. It's about extending that data management platform to really take you from an on-premise capability and help you build that journey to the cloud and extend your data management into that hybrid environment. That's really where NetApp focuses today. But what's important is that as you extend across these environments, you maintain and retain enterprise data management. You have the ability to automate and integrate. You can bring additional layers of security, compliance, visibility for management. And then very importantly, as you go into the cloud, cost control, reducing the cost, having full visibility of those. And that's where when we talk about helping customers with Q build a data fabric, this is what we're talking about. This is the kind of environment that sits behind what NetApp and Q can offer to our customers. So we've got time for Q&A now, and I think we've got about 6 or 7 minutes left, so I think we're doing good on time.
Lovely, and thank you, Grant, hugely for your presentation. A massive amount of information in such a short period of time, so loads to take in. But as you say, we have got a few minutes left, and we've got some questions that have come in as well. So I know you can't see them, Grant, but if I can read them, start with the first one, just regarding ONTAP 9.9/9.9.1. Is there a GA date available yet?
It's 3 months usually after the RC date. So I think we went RC a couple of weeks ago. So you're looking 3 months from then. That's typically the kind of schedule which we stick to, unless there's any major issues. That's when it would be GA. So.
Lovely. Okay. Good. So I've got another one here. What do you see as the fabric of choice for the NVMe protocol in a greenfield site? Will we need to buy fiber channel infrastructure to take advantage of NVMe, or can we use Ethernet switches?
Yeah, it's a good question. If you've already got fiber channel and they're a kind of a current or probably just last generation switch, then just use your fiber channel because it works across that and you don't have to change the switching and the cabling that you've already put in place. However, if you don't have fiber channel today, then TCP and Ethernet is the way I would go. I think you get more flexibility from a configuration perspective than you would do with fiber channel. But as I say, it depends on which protocol you've already got. If you already have fiber channel, use fiber channel. If you don't have fiber channel, then go Ethernet. So. Great,
thank you. So one regarding Spot, you did touch on very briefly on cloud cost optimization, but are you able to talk a little bit more about Spot?
Yeah, so Spot basically is it's an interesting service. It's a SaaS service. You go to cloud.netap.com, click on Spot. It has different components. The first part is an analyzer. You can run that for free against your cloud subscriptions from AWS, Azure, and Google, and it will show you how we could optimize and reduce the cost of that environment. So you can immediately see how much money you could save. We don't charge you anything to do that. What then happens is if you then decide to use Spot and Spot will do the management for you and the optimization, we then charge a percentage of the savings that you make. So the great thing about it is it doesn't cost anything to deploy. You save money first before you pay NetApp anything. But actually, it does it transparently. It looks at your virtualization deployments, your instances that you're deploying. It looks at your container deployments in the cloud. And then it will either automatically or scheduled, your choice, enable you to continually optimize those environments. So what it does is it maintains a pool of instances, spot instances, reserved ones. Customers can actually sell back instances to the spot pool, and it will enable you to choose the best instance type and configure it exactly to the application's needs for availability and performance without you having to do it. And on average, and this is no joke at all, we take out 70% of the compute cost that customers pay, because generally most people deploy their instances, they never go back and optimize them, and Spot continually optimizes them for you. So it's a great product. Have a look at it if you're worried about your cloud compute bill in any shape or form.
Great, thank you. And if anyone is interested in more information, specifically more information around Spot or any of the other technologies that have been discussed, we'd be more than happy to go into details and demos and deep dives at a subsequent time. So you know, very happy to do that. A couple of other questions that we had on the chat box. Are you likely to be going into Oracle Cloud?
You know, so to answer that, I wish we were, but I don't think we will be in the short term. Beyond that, I'm afraid I don't know. So it would be nice to think we would do, but Oracle create a very closed ecosystem. So, you know, who knows? But, you know, watch the news, because there could be some interesting announcements, you know, coming out. You never know.
Never say never. And on the workload front, we did have a couple of questions coming via email. We use FlexPod for core applications. With recent announcements and validated designs, it appears that FlexPod is very much part of the NetApp future portfolio. Is that correct? I guess this is around future proofing.
Absolutely. I mean, we've got, as I said, over 3,000 customers using it. It's still in massive growth compared to the other vendors and the other solutions on the marketplace. And I think everybody thought that these workloads would shift to the cloud. But actually what we're seeing is a retention of certain types of workloads and a desire to still have an on-premise capability. And FlexPod just delivers that simplicity of delivering that solution very easily without having to go through the engineering and architecture, and also simplifying the support, you know, because that, at the end of the day, when you're building a multi-architecture environment, having one phone call and one vendor to have to deal with the support of the whole solution is really what it's about, I think. So.
Excellent, thank you. So there's one here around SnapMirror Cloud. Can this be used to create offsite immutable snapshot backups? And is this different to the cloud backup service that you mentioned in the presentation?
Yes, it can, and yes, it is different. So the cloud backup service is about, it uses SnapMirror and it replicates and creates versions in the cloud. The immutable part is actually, I don't think it's available in the cloud backup service yet. So obviously that's a feature that could be coming. But you can replicate using SnapMirror to a Cloud Volumes ONTAP and use the immutability feature of SnapLock onto that backup. So yes, you can. So you can deliver what you're talking about. Cloud Backup itself doesn't offer that as a switch yet, but that will be coming, I'm sure. So.
Will Fabric Pool cloud tiering work with Flash Pool aggregate hosted volumes with ONTAP 9.9?
So I will clarify that. I think the answer is yes, because it really looks at the volume from a block level and the aggregate, and looks at what's cold and what's not. Doesn't make a difference if it's spinning disk or flash, or in Fabric Pool's case, a combination. All it does is tier that off. So I think the answer is yes, but let me clarify that. I'll come back and we can provide that as an answer out. So.
Okay, we can come back afterwards on that one as well. Are there any plans to develop a data reporting tool to determine folder sizes similar to the Win directory stat product?
Yes, and actually that came out in 9.8. So if you haven't looked at, I think it came out in preview. So that feature is in the ONTAP product, because we're storing the data anyway, so why not provide the ability to analyze at that kind of metadata level? So yes, that is in there. How you get to it, I'm not sure, but again, I'll come back to you on how you can access that. Lovely,
lovely. I have one regarding hybrid cloud. We're actively implementing a hybrid cloud strategy, but don't currently see a foreseeable scenario where all workloads are cloud deployable. Do you agree?
Absolutely, yeah. I was talking to a customer, large customer, who do a lot of HPC computing, and if you are delivering maximized utilization of your resources in the data center, it's going to be cheaper in the data center. You know, the cloud is still an expensive model unless you optimize it continually, and that's where the spots and storage efficiencies help in that respect. But I think you can build natively in the cloud, but I think the majority of organizations will not do that because of either the difficulty in getting all the skills they need for that new environment, or the fact that the workload actually just ends up being either compliance or more cost effective by retaining on-premise. Plus there's the whole migration capability. If you've got a complex bespoke application, migrating to the cloud could actually be a lot more effort than it's worth, and actually just modernizing and leveraging things like maybe the backup or the tiering underneath that to the cloud is probably a more efficient way of dealing with those types of applications.
Lovely. And we're almost out of time, unfortunately, but one final question, again, that's come in. We're in the early stages of cloud adoption. How do we decide which workloads are best suited for cloud deployment and which are not? I guess that's a general question, rather.
Yeah, and it's a tricky question, I think, because it differs for every customer. I think the easy thing is look at the backups and DR and maybe tiering as simple ways of getting to the cloud quickly. When you look at it from an application perspective, obviously the applications where there's a SaaS offering might be good to move straight to a SaaS offering in the cloud. The others where the application is a standard application, like maybe Oracle or SAP or those types of things, they're good candidates because there's a lot of knowledge, and we certify those types of solutions in the hyperscalers with the application vendors. Anything more than that, it depends. But that's where Q, are great to help customers advise on that. So.
Great. Fabulous. Well, thank you for those questions. I hope we've been able to answer them all for you, but if there are any extras that we haven't got to, or you would like to ask any more, then we will certainly answer those to the best of our ability afterwards, and we'll reach back out to you. We've come to the end of our session. And thanks again to Grant, huge thanks to Grant for such a comprehensive insight into NetApp and the direction of the industry today. I can remember a few years ago when NetApp first articulated the concept of the data fabric, being able to manage data across data centers, clouds, multiple locations, and you can really see now how relevant that vision is for the future, and how it's essentially made NetApp one of the most relevant organizations out there today. So thank you to you, Grant. We've covered a huge amount of material during this event, but we've only had time to scratch the surface in many of the areas that Grant has touched. So if you have any further questions or would like to discuss any aspect of your IT strategy in more detail, we would be delighted to help. Just reach out to your main Q Associates contact, or email us via the address that's on the screen. That's netapp@qassociates.co.uk, and we would only be too pleased to discuss your thoughts. I can confirm that this event has been recorded and will be available on our website and via the Q Associates UK YouTube channel within the next 24 hours or so. So it really just remains for me to thank you all for joining us today. I do hope you found the event to be valuable. We've been overwhelmed with the number of registrations and attendees to this event today. So thank you so much for joining us. I hope you've enjoyed the session, and goodbye for now. Thank you.